What is up, Insaners, and welcome to this week's super exciting episode where we'll be helping you prepare your team for Game Week 19. We'll be going through the top 3 free hit drafts for this week. We'll also talk about the best players and strategy to go for in case you're not using your free hit in Game Week 19. For those of you who are also planning for the upcoming game weeks, we did a video on the possible double game weeks in 21 and 22, and that should help you prepare the best team for game weeks 21 to 22. So make sure you check that out. You'll find a link to the same at the end of this video. Plus, I've also mentioned it in this video's description. Now guys, in case if you like our free hit drafts and find this video helpful, make sure that you hit the like button. That'll really help us in getting more such videos and FPL content for you guys. As always, if you're new around here, subscribe to our channel Insanely Football for regular FPL content. We do videos on transfer strategies, best players to targets, differential picks to boost your rank, along with the top captain picks every week and overall chip strategies. So let's start today's video by first talking about the fixtures that we have in Game Week 19. There are only 7 games happening this week because of the COVID outbreak at a few clubs. The first game this week is Manchester City versus Leicester. Now, Man City look in top form at the moment. Leicester also have looked good midweek, but this could be a tough game for Leicester. Then the informed Arsenal visit Norwich, who have improved quite a lot over the past few weeks, but they're still struggling against the bigger teams. Next we have Spurs, and they should be okay, and they play Crystal Palace. Again, it won't be that easy, but Palace away have struggled a bit this season. Then West Ham play Southampton, and hopefully guys, Antonio should at least be in the squad this week. After that we have Chelsea going to Villa Park, and the Blues really need a win. The second last fixture is Brighton versus Brentford, and then we end the week with Newcastle versus Manchester United. I think before we get into the free hit team structure and free hit drafts, it's important to understand as to why one should play the free hit chip in Game Week 19. Now, a lot of people have asked me this question, should they use their free hit chip in Game Week 19? I think it's pretty simple, to be honest. In case you have only 4 to 5 players in your team who have a game in Game Week 19, you should definitely think of using this chip. If you already have at least 6 players who play this week, then you can actually get away without using the free hit chip. Making a couple of transfers would take you to about 8 to 9 players who play this week. Now that should be enough to help you be around the average number of players who play this week. Obviously, the more players you have, the better, but I think 9 is a pretty decent number for this week. Now guys, I'm sure a lot of managers who probably have less players right now, and maybe just the bonus free hit chip available, they would be thinking of taking a few hits for this week. In my opinion, it only makes sense if you want to hold those players for at least the next 2 to 3 weeks. Taking so many minus points for a single game week, that doesn't make any sense. A lot of managers would have similar teams this week, so there's not much to gain till the time all your punts score huge hauls, which doesn't always happen in FPL. Obviously, taking a couple of hits could be okay depending on who you get in your team, but anything more than that might not be worth it. I think it would be best if you could manage this week without using a free hit chip unless it's absolutely necessary. This looks to be a pretty defensive week to use the free hit chip in my opinion. There's 7 fixtures and a lot of managers already have the double ups from Man City, maybe Chelsea, at least one of Son, Kane or Ronaldo. I think a better week could be the double game week 22 as it has better fixtures and more teams to target. You could even look at the future double game weeks to use your free hit chip later on in the season. Okay, so for those of you who are using a free hit chip this week, it's important to have a structure and some key pointers in mind. These should form the basis of your free hit team and give you a good all-around squad for Game Week 19. The starting point of your draft should be to make a note of your overall team value and money remaining in your bank. These are 2 critical pointers that will help you get the best players you need. Every FPL manager might have a different team value, so not everyone might be able to afford the same players and picks, so keep that in mind. The likes of Arsenal and West Ham do have a game this week, but you should be able to afford them as they have cheap options and they allow you to get in the likes of Son, Kane and Ronaldo. If not all, at least 2 of them are possible. Now, a lot of managers won't be playing their free hit chip in Game Week 19 and their teams would have some popular players. If you are on your free hit, then you need to make a call whether to go for those popular players or do things a bit differently by moving away from the set FPL template. I feel if you're using a chip, it's worth taking a risk and you should go a bit differential. Another really important thing to keep in mind is how many premiums you want to play in Game Week 19 along with the combination of your differentials. You could easily get a mix of both, and selecting these players carefully would go a long way in getting a good score in Game Week 19. One last thing to note is what formation you want to play with. There are a variety of options available. You can play with 2 strikers up front with a 4-4-2 or a 3-5-2. You could also play with all 3 strikers in a 3-4-3 or a 4-3-3 formation. Now let's start with our first draft now. In goal, we have gone ahead with Ramsdale, who is the highest owned keeper in the game. Arsenal play Norwich, who are okay in attack. There's a possible clean sheet in there. He could also make some potential saves, giving him additional save points as well. Also, with high ownership, if Ramsdale gets a huge haul, you would drop more ranks than you would want. Our second keeper is just a filler option from any team, to be honest. None of the very cheap goalkeeper options are playing at the moment, so you can take your pick. In case you want to safeguard your position and maybe even have the money, you can also go for Sanchez from Brighton. Now he faces a Brentford team that has been a hit and a miss this season, especially in attack. There are chances of a Brighton clean sheet, and Sanchez in the mid 4 million price range offers great value. To be honest guys, safer picks out of the two is Ramsdale, but if you fancy a bit of a risk, then Sanchez is a great shout. Coming to defense, and we have no double ups in defense, I think it's better to spread your player pool just in case any matches get called off because of the COVID outbreak. We have James from Chelsea, who again can easily move out of the team, but still an okay fixture. Yes, his attacking numbers have gone down. Chelsea's defense has also just kept one clean sheet in the last 6 game weeks, so it's a tricky one, but I still feel James is the best Chelsea defender to go for, and he retains his place in this lineup. Kincello is another option who can have a good game this week. Last week he scored a massive 18 points. Of course, the game is against Leicester, who are still a good team, but defensively they have looked vulnerable. Kincello can get a clean sheet too, so he's looking good for this week. Our third playing defender is Reguilon this week, who has also looked pretty attacking under Conte. Now he drives forward a lot in the game, much more than Royal on the other side, and this wingback role is really suiting him at the moment. Spurs are up against Palace, which is not going to be a straightforward game, but Palace away have conceded a fair amount of goals, plus I doubt they'll just sit back and defend. I think Vieira would want to have a lot of the ball, and that might just suit Conte playing on the counter. I like Reguilon for his attacking threat, and I think he's a good pick this week. The other options in defense are Dalot and Amati guys. Now Dalot can be a useful 4th defender in this team. You can easily play him against Newcastle, who have looked pretty bad in defense. Yes, they have some attacking threat, but if Varane is back, the United defense is capable of keeping out Newcastle this week. In terms of his starts, Dalot is not nailed for sure, and it'll probably just take one bad game for him to go out, but he's for sure was pictured in training, and he's available for this week's game. Our final defender Amate, he's more of a bench filler just to make up the numbers. He's just 3.8 million and he allows us to save money and improve our midfield and attack. Now coming to midfield, and it looks pretty interesting. Because we just need to plan for 1 week, we can go a bit more attacking and target the good fixtures with a few differentials. And that is exactly the reason why we have the likes of KDB and Mahrez in there. When we talk about Man City, everyone is a rotation risk right now, maybe apart from Bernardo Silva, but a lot of managers would generally have the likes of Silva and Foden, and going for the likes of KDB and Mahrez gives a very nice differential route to points this week. KDB since his return has been really good. He is playing a lot further forward. Now he came back to his first full 90 minutes since game week 11 with 16 points in game week 17. He definitely made his mark in the 7-0 battering of Leeds by 2 goals. The fixtures are decent going forward, but can he beat the Pep Roulette? That's the $1 million question, guys. I think it's very hard to predict, but still makes a lot of sense to go for him on a free hit. Mahrez is the second option who probably is more at risk of rotation, but one thing to note is whenever he's selected this season, he has been involved in 40% of Man City's goals. He's facing Leicester, who have conceded the most number of chances on their left flank, and Mahrez for sure would play there. I know it's a huge risk because of the Pep Roulette, but I think it's worth taking. Guys, another big name in this lineup is Son from Tottenham, up against Palace this week. Now, whether free hit or not, I think Son is going to be a popular move this week. He has got 10 attacking returns so far this season, which include 3 double-digit hauls. According to goal scoring odds this week, he has a 41% chance of scoring, and to top it up guys, Palace have not kept a clean sheet since game week 11. Our fourth midfielder is Bowen, who's also pretty much nailed on a free hit this week. Like Son, he too has 10 attacking returns so far this season. A huge advantage with him is that he's on set pieces, plus he will play up top if Antonio doesn't feature because of COVID. Another point to note is the fixture this week. Now, Southampton don't really inspire a lot of confidence in defense at the moment, with no clean sheet since game week 11. Guys, the final midfield spot is quite open at the moment. In this draft, we have the budget enabler Martinelli from Arsenal this week. Now, he's done really well for Arsenal. He looks like a quality player. Plus, that price is really appealing for somebody of his quality. With Aubameyang out of favor, I think Lacazette plays up top and Martinelli plays out wide. In case Lacazette misses out, Martinelli can also play up top. He's a versatile player and I really like him against Norwich. Talking about our forwards now and in attack, we've gone ahead for a strong 2 with a filler option. Ronaldo's probably the first name on the list of forwards likely to score this week. He's up against a very weak Newcastle defense, plus he's also a great captaincy option in a week where the Liverpool assets and Salah in particular is not available. We know that he's the main man for Man United, hopefully he's on penalties too, and I think even if this was not a free hit week, he would be a priority transfer for me. He's also at 57% odds of scoring this game week, and interestingly his only hat-trick in the Premier League has come against Newcastle United. All really good signs, and I think he's without a doubt the best forward option this week. Guys, the second name is quite interesting, and again, like the last midfield spot, there are multiple ways of looking at this. We have Lacazette right now against Norwich. He is no way a must-have this week, but the fixture is good. Arsenal are in decent form at the moment. He could have easily got a double-digit haul against Leeds last week, and he was quite unlucky. Now, my only worry with him would be that he tends to come quite deep to release the likes of Saka and Martinelli on the wings, so that could reduce his goal threat a bit. Nevertheless, a decent pick for this week. Now, a third striker is more of a filler option, as I mentioned, who's just there to fill up the third spot and won't be playing this week. To be fair, you can have any cheap striker here, and let's move on. In terms of our playing 11 this week, we can play a 3-5-2 with Dalot on the bench, or can even switch to a 4-4-2 with one of Bowen or Martinelli on the bench. Personally, I like the option to go ahead with an attacker rather than Dalot, as there's always a risk with clean sheets. Now coming to the second draft, and we've tried to do things a bit differently with this one. Instead of going for the Dalot pick in defense, we've gone ahead with Tierney, who's also a solid option this week. I don't think he'll be in many teams, and he could be an interesting differential doubling up with the Arsenal defense along with Ramsdale. The second change is basically instead of Amati, we've gone for Tsimikas, who doesn't have a game this week, but he's the cheapest defender in the game right now and will be our fifth defender. In midfield, we've gone ahead with the same three in case of Son, Bowen and Martinelli, and we've shifted the Man City players and gone for a bit more sound approach with the likes of Silva and Foden in the team. Silva's attacking returns have come down, but he looks like the most nailed midfielder in that City attack. Foden is a bit risky, as we don't know what Pep is going to do with him in terms of the disciplinary action. I doubt he'll sit out for more games, but you never know with Pep. He has options available, but Foden has looked really good this season. Now for this draft in attack, we've retained Ronaldo, and instead of Lacazette, we have Kane completing a double up in the Tottenham attack and a triple up on Tottenham players. Kane looked really dangerous against Liverpool. He could have scored more, he could have been sent off as well, so a lot of action for him in the game. A lot of people might think it's a bit risky to go for a Tottenham double in attack against Palace, but they've looked good under Conte, plus they've had breaks between games, and everyone looks fit and ready to go. I feel he's a good alternative to Lacazette this week. Now this draft also has an improved third striker in Broja, who can also do well against West Ham. I mean, he's still a better option than any non-playing forward this week. In terms of the playing 11, we can play a 3-4-3 with one of Martinelli, Bowen or a City midfielder on the bench, or a 3-5-2, keeping Broja on the bench. The playing defenders would be Kincello, James and one of Reguilon or Tierney. We can even play a back four with a midfielder option on the bench. Now guys, the third draft that we have also has a few great differential shouts for Game Week 19. We have David De Gea in goal against Newcastle. Now he's been in great form and there's saves potential as well. I think he's a pretty good shout in my opinion. In terms of our defenders, we've gone for a couple of really good additions. We retain Kincello, Tierney and Reguilon, and we have two cheap filler options, and this is where it can get a bit risky. Just in case if any defenders gets rested and he doesn't feature at all, then one of Amati and Tsimikas, they'll come on and we'll end up with a non-playing defender in our playing 11. Guys, continuing with our differential trend, we have Mahrez again from the first draft, and we've gone for Gallagher as our bench cover. With him, there's a safety of a start, and he can do well against Spurs. Now, if you want to go a bit safer, probably going for a Brighton defender, maybe even a West Ham defender can be an option. In attack, we have a really strong trio with Ronaldo, Kane and Lacazette, and this could spell a lot of FPL points from our strikers this week. As in terms of our playing 11 for this one, we'll have to play a 3-4-3 if we have Gallagher in the team. I know it's a bit risky, but could be a great differential in itself. So guys, these are some of the best free hit drafts that you have for Game Week 19. Are you using a free hit chip this week? Do let me know in the comments below. So that'll be all for this video guys. To summarize, free hit in Game Week 19, it looks okay only if your team is in deep trouble. If you can reach a similar squad with a single, maybe even 2 hits, I think it can be okay. I would still say wait for more news on these players before hitting that free hit button. Now in case your team is in really bad shape, then definitely go for it this week. I hope I was able to help you guys with your free hit chip planning and even those who are not using their free hit chips this week. Make sure to give this video a like if you found this useful. Subscribe to our channel Insanely Football for all the good FPL stuff, guys. We'll be coming up with our next video tomorrow where we'll talk about our team selection, transfer strategy, and some of the best captain picks for this week. So do hit the bell icon if you want to get notification for the same. Happy tinkering with your teams, and I'll see you Insaners next time.